Marvelous!
But Iron Man 3.
Okay.
This is an interesting movie because even though we watch this as a trilogy, there is a time skip because there's like a few movies in between this.
Yeah, that's true. You can tell that from reading because literally there's a quote for Iron Man. We create our own demons. What do you think? What do you think of that, honestly?
We create our own demons.
You know.
That sounds like one of those things where... I mean, it's probably profound, but it sounds like one of those things that someone says to sound profound, but isn't, when you actually examine it, it's not that profound.
I like how it goes back and back bad, like AIM being first proposed to with Tony Stark in 1999. Tony never meets AIM person. He meets the botanist. Literally, this is setting up what happened before and how Tony has to deal with these consequences, and how Tony never thought it would catch up to him. Tony's new armor is very interesting. I could literally control more control. I can see the evolution slowly and surely.
Superior tech.
The new terrorist threat that mattered and was like, oh, is there going to be multiple villains in this movie? At first, no. They're all related. Aldrich, I think his name is.
Ooh, yes.
Came back to meet Pepper because apparently they knew each other. Which is not explained in the flashback.
No, not at all.
In a way to show his... And he showed him his brain, apparently?
Yeah.
Bro,
my brain is huge. Look how big it is.
And showed like a DNA sequence missing, but like, okay, that's normal AIM, but I'm like, what is this submarine? I'll just kind of kiss Pepper, kind of, like on the cheek.
Oh, okay. I was like, I don't remember this. We watched the same movie.
They're talking about Tony being a little like helpful for Pepper, and the whole bunch of other stuff. Tony has a post-traumatic stress disorder. It's very obvious. Obvious. It's shown multiple times when he has to stress about the portal thing. The research of healing is kind of obviously coming back. When Tony meets his one-night stand from a while ago, who made the research and said, like, I think he's working for AIM, and things like that, that's later. Tony didn't tell Tony that. I like how he's worried about, like, please don't tell me this is a kid, 12-year-old kid.
He's 13, and no.
And then literally the attack happens. People think Tony Stark is dead after that, but I like how he sends a message to Pepper and gets that through. Then Tony Stark goes on a little trip around town. His suit is dead. I like how he's like more mortal and like shows some of his more smarts and like some at the middle of the movie, like without the huge technology and like I'm rich.
Yeah.
You get to see some like general stuff he does. I like the kid of Tony Stark.
Kid is pretty good.
Yeah. I'm sad he never came back.
Yeah. He came back in one scene.
He did?
At the end of Endgame, I believe.
I like how when Tony Stark figures out that AIM starts to come from the attacks and like literally just flips it back over.
Yeah.
AIM.
Wild. That's some wild stuff. And the eye roll look he gave to damn.
I like how the kid constantly tries to guilt trip Tony Stark.
Oh yeah.
Tony Stark doesn't need it for AIM.
Am I freaking you out? Are you having a panic attack? Why? What did I say?
I like Tony Stark's makeshift weapons, like the Christmas ornament explosion. That would hurt. The Mandarin is all a lie. That part was like, oh. And then he appears in Shang-Chi, because I watched that, I think. And like, oh, this is where this guy comes from, I said. But he never died. He was brought... I didn't see the explosion that he was in. That was confusing. Killmonger breathes fire once in this movie. And I was like, why doesn't he use that more?
You mean Aldrich?
Aldrich, yeah. Yeah, Aldrich. And then he kills the creator of the elixir. I was surprised by that. He didn't care. The falling out from the plane and everyone dying at once. Like, or everyone not dying at once. Everyone, like, gonna die if he didn't save them. Like, his strategy on how to save them was really interesting. I wonder if that would work in real life or no, just rip their arms off.
I think you probably could. You wouldn't have access to what he had, where he essentially statically locked everyone's hands in place.
Yeah.
Which is kind of integral to making sure that no one dies.
I thought Tony was going to get hit by a car again, like when he saved everyone.
Oh yeah, that was a great fake out.
Yeah. I was surprised how Tony did not actually kill the main bad guy at the end. And, like, the vice president was in on it. I was like, oh, we're doing sabotage here. And I was really surprised by, like, his self-destructing suit not killing him. Mm-hmm. Like, the laser through the chest thing he killed the last guy.
Yeah. Which is weird.
But Pepper Potts is the one who kills the last guy. And she's like, I like how she freaks out, like, don't touch me, I will hurt you, burn you. So it's like, I can figure this when I'm drunk, I can figure this out now. And I like how he gets rid of the shrapnel in his chest.
Very important character arc conclusion.
And destroys all his past suits. Which I found like, aw, I like some of these suits. And he got like everyone something at the end of the movie. Do you have any scenes that I mentioned would you like to talk about?
So I have a lot of notes written down for this movie, actually. There's a lot of people that don't like this movie, and it's definitely the least liked of the Iron Man movies. Having watched this movie now for technically a third time, I think I like it the more I watch it. It's not a bad movie, but I can see why people just don't like it that much. This has the least connection to Iron Man, the character that we've seen. This movie's plot as a whole, as well as the events of the movie. Well, I guess that is the plot too. But it has a lot of connection to the MCU. However, this movie does feel kind of like shoved in.
Kind of.
It's very important to the character of Iron Man and to the MCU, but just not all that important to Iron Man. To the like trilogy of Iron Man. Not a bad movie, just kind of out of left field. The reason why this movie appeared on Journey Alpha, even though I excluded movies that I had already watched, one, because I couldn't remember like anything about this movie, and I was worried like maybe I hadn't watched it. Two, I think at the time I was going to watch Shang-Chi, where the Mandarin makes an appearance. And I remember vaguely the Mandarin appearing in one of these movies, and found out, oh yeah, Iron Man 3. Okay. And then watching this movie now, I realize why I didn't remember. Because it's a fake Mandarin. Yeah. It's not the real one. Although I do like that this Mandarin, or the fake Mandarin, does reappear in Shang-Chi.
And it like keeps his character very well.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's like no changes.
Mm-hmm. This movie, Tony experiences even more devastating losses. Sure. And I can't say I'm glad, but it's nice to see this character like crawl back up.
Yeah.
Really wish they brought that kid back. That kid's the best. This movie
has some flaws.
Yes. So PTSD. Let me jump into like the note directly. This movie, huge themes of PTSD, and I can't exactly speak from experience. I don't have PTSD or have had PTSD, but I feel like this movie did a pretty good portrayal of someone with PTSD. This guy has like anxiety attacks, and like at first, because of his ego, at first he's like, "What do you mean anxiety attack?" Only to later, like, kind of come to grips with the fact that, you know what, maybe not everything is alright.
And that was, like, a big part of the movie. And, like, eventually Tony does move on from some of his past things. He brings back the one-armed robot, who was in every Iron Man movie. Mm. He gives everyone who's on this journey a little gift for it. Figured out what was wrong with the medicine. Gets his own shrapnel off. It helps everyone, honestly, even the kid. Gives him like a whole bunch of technology.
So I don't know if this is a good movie. I honestly don't. But one thing I can say definitively that this is actually not an Iron Man movie. This is a Tony Stark, and I love it for that. I really like the way they characterize Tony Stark, the individual, in this movie. There is some scenes that stand out to me in particular, where he's calling the kid to figure out, like, how's the suit going. He's talking to Jarvis, and, like, oh, it's it's not charging, and then he like fucking swerves off the road.
Yeah.
The humor in this movie is also pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
Another like notable scene, that diner. He's fighting the AIM lady. I remember specifically, because he's still being like Iron, like Tony Stark, hucking it up, even though he's like in an extreme disadvantage.
Yeah.
He's like literally he sets the building, or at least the entrance, on fire as the lady walks into it. I think the line he says is like, "You kind of walked into this one, but I've dated chicks hotter than you."
He's Tony Stark.
He's Tony Stark the entire way through.
You can never not doubt that.
Mm-hmm. And I also like the fact that it rounds out his character arc. 2, this has the least amount of Iron Man it has the least amount of Tony Stark being Iron Man in Iron Man history, really.
Yeah.
He actually has to fight without the suit. He has to be Iron Man still without the suit. By far the most fascinating.
And then when he eventually gets the suit, you can understand how he acts like this. He's not helpless without it.
He's a mechanic. He builds things, as the kid put it. So, in contrast to that, we have the villain. This villain is just kind of whack.
Kind of meh.
Yeah, I really hate that the introduction to this villain is a flashback. Because you had 2 movies to do that. Not that that's like a necessarily bad thing, but bro, come on. Every ounce of motivation this guy has is told through a flashback instead of the other 2 movies. You had 2 movies to try and establish Iron Man villains. All of his villains are people from his past. We've already done that. Iron Man 2 got away with it because you did a lot of other cool things in it. Also, his motivations. So he shows off his brain. His big, beautiful brain. Glorious brain. The best brain. All those other brains, horrible, terrible. Believe me, ask anyone. He's got like some impressive tech. And his goal, like his motivation is he wants to, ruin Tony Stark. Alright. Why doesn't he sell that tech and make some money? And destroy him as a business.
True.
And then also, he totally kills that government dude.
Yeah.
But why? Why? Why did you need to kill him?
I think just to push on the act. That's it, I think.
Man.
He's not a nice guy.
His motivations are all over the place, too. Like you mentioned before, he kills the botanist girl. Even though, at one point in time, super crucial to what he wanted to do.
Yeah.
And then eventually he's like, you know what, screw that. I'm just mad.
I think he's like, now I got Pepper Potts. I got the formula. I don't need you anymore.
He doesn't have the formula, though. The formula's incomplete.
That's why all I need is Tony Stark to finish it, basically. That's what he's thinking.
Yeah, that's the thing. But, it's kind of clear now that Tony's not gonna do that. His motivations are the most unclear, and they're all over the place.
Yeah.
Also super disappointed. He is someone representing AIM, which is a pretty big villain, and there is no AIM set up in this movie. Not a lick of... Because I can't imagine that this would be the way that they end AIM in this movie. It's kind of important to other plots. But, there is no setup for AIM in this movie.
That's just annoying.
Well, overall thoughts on these movies?
I think it can be tuned up a little, like after the fact, and go back in time. We could fix a little things, but otherwise they're good movies. Maybe make the villains more memorable.
Yes, please. What was your favorite
villain
movie?
Iron Man 2.
I as well.
The second one was the best. Just need the villains to be more memorable.
I'm curious as to what the general consensus is, though, because typically people are very hard and stuck on the first one is the best of anything, really, not just Iron Man. Anything in video games, movies, books, everything.
I just love the scene where all the Iron Man suits come in and he blows them all up.
That is pretty cool, and a great rounding to the character arc.
But I'm sad because I want to see them all.
I'm sad because it's in Iron Man 3. There's also some really cool references to like the various suits of the comics in there. You know, I don't think about it. We didn't see like 75% of those suits
Yeah.
in the movies.
Yeah.